O land of our birth, O gem of God's earth! O island so strong and so fair, built firm as bar rule, thy throne of home rule makes us free as thy sweet mountain air. I agree that the land of our birth is the gem of God's earth, and thy mountain air is most certainly sweet. But to claim that our island is fair and that we are free is delusion for those who agree, and antagonism for those who understand. The unparalleled beauty of the Isle of Man makes it the perfect setting for fairy tale. For those who appreciate nature and the good outdoors, it is a little piece of heaven just floating in the Irish Sea. Its rolling hills, sandy beaches, and rugged and rocky coastline proudly personify the island, and in the summer months, you be forgiven for mistaking it for part of the Mediterranean. The geography and the isolation of the island create a culture that is blessed with many benefits. The close-knit communities help blossom many lifelong friendships and close family bonds. Above all its beauty and wonder, the greatest thing that makes the Isle of Man such a special place to myself and to many is the people that call it home. However, as hope and ambition for many seem to dwindle, yet profit margins and the wealth gap continue to grow, it's becoming blatantly obvious to many that the good people on our island are being taken advantage of by those in power and by some of those with influence. Long gone are the heydays of the island, where the majority of people were spoiled for choice for entertainment and could live comfortable lives on a reasonable wage. If profit margins weren't so great, perhaps some of the money being pointlessly hoarded by the super wealthy would be put to use and pumped back through the Manx economy by the people who actually go out and spend money. This keeps small businesses alive and thriving, giving us all more options and opportunities. Instead, small businesses are being forced into bankruptcy, leaving us with little options or choice. This allows large corporations to swallow up the market and have a monopoly on their prices with little to no competition. It is important that people understand the difference between an attack on the rules that govern our society and an attack on the people that make our society great. It is vital that people don't follow blind advice, and that they think for themselves to formulate their own opinion, as it is much easier to fool people with comfortable lies than convince them of the hard truths of how the world works. I assure you that those who benefit from the way things are will convince you there is no need for action and no need for change. They will try and slander and take away any credibility from anybody who dares to challenge the status quo. Throughout history, anybody who dares to take a moral stance against the elites of society is slaughtered and ostracized by those in power and by those with influence. They work together to control the narrative of public opinion. They flood the media with controversial and divisive topics to destroy any chance of unity between the oppressed, with a deep focus on saving face and quashing any momentum or possibility of the people making an effective move toward change. Anybody brave enough, or stupid enough, to blow the whistle on their tactics or intentions is often labeled as paranoid or as a conspiracy theorist. A conspiracy theorist is somebody who chooses to question the information they've been told and comes to their own conclusion, instead of following orders blindly and without question, and there is nothing paranoid about being aware of and blowing the whistle on lies and deceit. I am well aware that there is, probably, a boat in the morning, and as hilarious as that line is, I am also aware that that expression is what is known as a thought-terminating cliché, a term used to dismiss criticism with a fallacy of logic. It justifies their bullshit. It is loaded wisdom that prevents those who use it from questioning the narrative. It keeps them in their box. For too long, the Isle of Man government has taken advantage of the good people in our society. False promises, lack of transparency, and blatant lies seem to be the ethos that our government operates by. It is inconceivable that fresh ideas and new ways of thinking can be adopted and put into practice by a government which is rooted in generations of corruption. To me, the claim of having the oldest continuous parliament in the world is nothing to be proud of or to brag about. It signifies an outdated political culture with a reluctancy to change, and embodies an authoritarian regime hell-bent on keeping hold of power, all whilst posing as a democracy who has the community's best interests at heart. The obvious decline in life satisfaction and the morale of the island's residents is further evidence that the current government and established ways of thinking are both outdated and unjust. The lack of empathy, coupled with an insatiable greed from those in power, has created such a dismal and depressing outlook for the youth and the working-class people of the Isle of Man. The youth are feeling the brunt of it, as they see their futures on the island as hollow and bleak, paying for the cost of a greedy government, greedy landlords, and greedy corporations. There is no wonder many of our young academics choose to remain in the UK after furthering their educations in university. The house prices and cost of living are a huge deterrent for any young professionals looking to create a life and build a family on the island. So if we are losing our young academics and struggling to convince young professionals to move here, who is going to fill the roles of doctors, nurses, dentists, and teachers, to name a few? The government's refusal to provide adequate and affordable housing to the people of the Isle of Man has given greedy landlords the ability to skyrocket their rent prices, knowing full well people have no option but to swallow it. It also keeps the property prices of houses much higher due to the laws of supply and demand. Affordable housing is quite clearly in demand, with a lack of supply. They are more concerned about building second homes for the wealthy, many of which are left empty all year round, where their main purpose of ownership is to allow them to take advantage of the island's tax laws. Yet the man in charge of your money which you pay through your taxes has prioritized unjustified profits for themselves and their cronies over the well-needed investment in healthcare and affordable housing, even going as far as publicly accusing the health sector for overspending on their budget, making out as though the island is in financial hardship. The Isle of Man is one of the richest countries in the world per capita. There's plenty of money. It's just being unfairly distributed to the rich and powerful through corruption, malfeasancy, and outdated perceptions of the value of their input. The Isle of Man is not unique in this situation, as it is following in the footsteps of places like Hawaii and Cornwall, where the local working-class people end up being priced out of paradise due to rent prices and wage disparity, creating an economy that is simply unaffordable for many of the local people. They are then forced to make the tough decision of either emigrating for a more affordable lifestyle or choosing to remain in their homeland with their friends and families. This is a spit in the face to the hard-working people of our island. The mental health epidemic has raged through our island like a wildfire, destroying people's lives and tearing families apart as it continues to roar mercilessly. This is the reality of our situation. You can ignore reality if you like, but you cannot ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. In the year 2023-24, there were 14 confirmed suicides, and 5 by misadventure in the Isle of Man. With a population of around 88,000, that figure translates to 15.9 suicides per 100,000 people. During that same period, the highest suicide rate in the UK was in the northeast, with a rate of 14.7 cases per 100,000. This suggests that throughout that period, the Isle of Man became the suicide capital of the UK. So I'll say it again. You can ignore reality if you like, but you cannot ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. Perhaps instead of heavily medicating a society and funding immoral pharmaceutical companies, that money could be better spent on improving the quality of life the island has to offer. It's like throwing us overboard, then paying for our life jackets, whilst they are profiting from the misery and hardship that the working-class people are forced to endure, then sailing past us in their yachts, telling us that they care. If they didn't throw us overboard, we wouldn't need the life jackets. We need to be pulled out of the water, instead of being coerced into believing that treading water is the answer, by people who refuse to even get wet. The working-class people of this island are the backbone of our society. Without them, everything collapses and ceases to function. However, they are made to feel powerless and expendable by those in power, and by those who pull their strings. People should be rewarded for the hard work and effort that they put into their lives, and they should be able to make a profit that correlates fairly to the effort that they have made. There is nothing wrong with having the ambition of becoming wealthy. However, the road to wealth should not be achieved by accumulating their fortunes upon the orchestrated misfortunes of others. If people become wealthy with a compassionate and empathetic attitude, they are destined to create a more positive impact on society. Those with power take much of their strength, confidence, and security in believing that the common man is too embarrassed, fearful, or ashamed to stand up, relying on the fact that social stigmas, as well as a lack of strength, clarity, leadership, and unity, will prevent the people from making a stand against the blatant oppression that plagues our island. People should not feel embarrassed or ashamed for being born on the wrong side of an unjust system, and neither should they feel the need to hustle unjustly to climb their way out of the depths of poverty. Shame and guilt are emotions hardwired into us to prevent us from acting dishonestly and keeping us in check. It is imperative that we take advantage of the human condition for its genuine purpose, and not allow it to be used as a tool against us to stop us from speaking our own truth. Shame and guilt should be felt and directed towards those who take advantage of the hardworking people in our society, and those without a voice. Do not look up to those who look down at you. If you allow them to take advantage of you, then they will. Unwarranted respect and blind loyalty to those in power is what keeps them in power. Question their motives, instead of following blindly. Open conversations about morality, ethics, and empathy are like kryptonite to those who take advantage of the good people in our society. Ask questions and make them justify their greed. Take pride in your empathy and the compassion you show towards others. If we want to create a more harmonious society, then big changes must be made. The beautiful thing is that they can and they will, provided the people work together and show collective strength against inequality and oppression. Politics are never black and white, and there are many things people will always have a difference of opinion on. But there are certain issues of Manx law that every single Manx resident should agree on. Sarah's law was implemented by the police force in England and Wales in April 2011. It is also known as the Child Sex Offender Disclosure Scheme, CSODS, and was put in place following the tragic death of Sarah Payne, aged 8, who was abducted and murdered by convicted pedophile, Roy Whiting, in July 2000. The purpose of Sarah's law is to protect children from such horrific attacks by allowing parents, carers, or guardians to formally request information from the police about a person who they believe may be a risk to a child. The Isle of Man government has chosen not to introduce Sarah's law, as in their words from the government website. It was agreed at that time that such a scheme would not be a benefit within the context of the island community. This quite clearly shows that they are more concerned with the safety of the pedophiles than the safety of our children. It is creating a refuge for pedophiles, a place where they feel safe, like a pedophile's paradise. It is absolutely disgusting that the Isle of Man government, with their ability to create their own laws, has opted to take a more lenient approach toward child abuse, instead of stamping its authority as an island that will not tolerate that despicable act of depravity. How dare the government force an identity up on us that portrays us to be more sympathetic towards the vermin that destroy our children's lives? No other culture would stand for this, and neither should we. The lack of activism on the island gives corrupt politicians free rein to create laws and spend your money on whatever they please with no resistance. Without unity and the collective strength of the people, any attempt at seeking justice is easily quashed and nipped in the bud by the collective greed of those who benefit from the crooked and slave-like regime that is destroying the tranquility of our island. Real progress and real change is to begin from the ground up. So stand up and be counted. If people shown the collective strength to stand up and demand Sarah's law for the protection and safety of the children, not only would it be a win for our children, but it would also demonstrate the power of unity and public demand. It would be an act of resistance and a stand against injustice that would inject confidence into the people so that they realize the potential for change. It would be the first step in building the momentum needed to encourage people to stand up and change the trajectory of our children's futures. United we stand, divided we fall. So, I urge you all to understand your value and your importance and the role you will all play in creating a better future for your children. To give them hope and positive aspirations that things can and will become better. Do not be afraid, do not be ashamed, and do not be embarrassed about taking a moral stance against injustice. It is up to us how the future unfolds. It is up to us to take responsibility for our own lives. And it is up to us to create a future that our children can find happiness in. United we stand, divided we fall. So, I urge you all to understand your value and your importance and the role you will all play in creating a better future for your children. To give them hope and positive aspirations that things can and will become better. Do not be afraid, do not be ashamed, and do not be embarrassed about taking a moral stance against injustice. It is up to us how the future unfolds. It is up to us to take responsibility for our own lives. And it is up to us to create a future that our children can find happiness in. And when the people have awoken to what truly matters, and when the people are ready to change their lives, to understand the power of unity, we shall march. We shall march through Strand Street, peacefully, yet purposefully. We shall walk up Prospect Hill and head towards the Wedding Cake Building. And as we stand there proudly, with our heads held high, they will be compelled to bow theirs in shame. This is not a hate march. This is not an act of aggression. It is a positive display of unity between the people. We shall show strength in solidarity. We shall show power in unity. We shall show beyond all doubt that as long as we stand together, that honesty and integrity shall always triumph over deceit and duplicity. That hope and belief shall always conquer doubt and despair. That empathy and unity shall always prevail over selfishness and greed. And as we march, with each step we shall grow in confidence. With each step, we shall grow in determination. And with each step we take, we will be one step closer to a brighter and happier future for our children. So let's make our island great again. Power to the people. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more videos.